Hello and welcome back to Canada Top to Bottom. Today is an exciting day for all of you who are thinking of moving to Canada because after an extremely long break, Federal Skilled Worker and Canadian Experience Class Express Entry draws are resuming today. Don't worry if this doesn't mean much to you. We'll give you a bit of background on what these draws are and why this is such exciting news.
So, pre-COVID, Express Entry was the quickest, simplest and most popular way of gaining Canadian permanent residence. There are 3 immigration programs within Express Entry: Federal Skilled Worker, Federal Skilled Trades and Canadian Experience Class. The Federal Skilled Worker category especially was extremely popular, as although there are still criteria to meet such as education level, work experience and language level, there is no job offer requirement and you don't need a family member or a sponsor within Canada. In short, any foreign worker with the relevant skills, qualifications and experience can apply and be in with a good chance of getting selected for permanent residence in Canada.
Once you had an application submitted and were in the Express Entry pool of candidates, you were assigned a points total, and every 2 weeks the candidates with the most points were selected and offered an invitation to apply. And the best part about it was that it was quick. Once all the documents were submitted, the Immigration and Refugee Council of Canada, or IRCC, aimed to process applications within 6 months.
But as we said, this was pre-COVID and a lot of things have changed since then. And one of the biggest and most frustrating outcomes of the pandemic was that the IRCC chose to pause the draws indefinitely until further notice. This was to give them a chance to clear the ever-growing backlog of applications due to staff being laid off and workplaces closing during the lockdowns. This means that from March 2020 to December 2020, there were just 11 sporadic draws. After this, until September 2021, there continued to be occasional Canadian Experience Class draws, but since then, there have been no Express Entry draws at all. That's 10 months since the last Canadian Experience Class draw and over a year and a half since the last Federal Skilled Worker Express Entry draw, when previously the draws were conducted every 2 weeks.
Still hard to get your head around, and this has caused so much hardship for so many people over the last few years, including us. But the wait is now over, both for people who have already got an Express Entry profile and have been waiting patiently to be selected for many years, and also for people who have not yet started their Canadian journey and have been put off by the awful delays caused by COVID. The Immigration Minister Sean Fraser announced in January that thanks to the huge break in conducting draws, enormous progress has been made in tackling the backlog of applications, and it has now been significantly reduced, enough to resume all programme draws, which is the news thousands of people have been waiting for far too long. Sean Fraser has stayed true to his word, and Express Entry draws will resume today on July the 6th, the first draw in more than 18 months.
Another incredible frustration for so many people has been the waiting times. For those extremely lucky people who managed to get their applications submitted and begin their processing time before the draws ended, standard waiting times went out of the window, and the average processing time for applications already submitted became 27 months instead of 6, with many people still waiting to hear any news almost 3 years after applying. Coinciding with the draws resuming, Sean Fraser has also said that processing times will return to the pre-COVID estimate of 6 months, which is wonderful news for so many people.
So let's talk about what we can expect from today's draw. Right now, there are more than 220,000 candidates in the Express Entry pool, with more than 5,000 having entered just in the past few weeks. Pre-2020, around 3,000 of the highest ranked candidates would get selected every 2 weeks. Being selected to apply for permanent residency was based solely on how many CRS points candidates had. So, in essence, the higher your points total, the more chance you had of being selected. A cut-off score was established, and anyone with or above that score was offered an invitation to apply.
Now, although there have been no draws for quite some time, this hasn't stopped people from submitting applications and entering the pool, in the hope that draws would resume. This means that more and more people entered the pool, but no one has left. So the number of people in the pool has just kept growing and growing, which in turn means the cut-off score has been pushed higher and higher, because rather than being selected and therefore removed from the pool, the top scoring candidates are still in there, being joined by more and more top scoring candidates every day.
So what does this mean for today's draw? Of course, we can only speculate, and it depends on how many people they want to select from this draw. But we can assume that there has been a recent push to get into the express entry pool ready for this resumption of draws, pushing the scores even higher. In 2019, the cut-off score hovered around 450 to 460, with one draw going as low as 438, but increased to around 470 to 480 at the end of 2020, as the number of draws decreased and the number of candidates in the pool continued to rise.
As it stands at the moment, there are currently over 60,000 people in the express entry pool who have more than 450 points, with over 8,000 of those with more than 500 points. So whereas pre-pandemic a score of 460 or above was a good score and likely to get you selected, you'll probably need over 500 points for at least the next few months while the express entry pool settles down again. Indeed, the IRCC have predicted that the cut-off score in the first draw is likely to be above 500 and remain this high for around 6 months.
The final thing we're going to talk about today in relation to the express entry draws resuming is the potential introduction of Bill C-19. This is currently still under review by the Canadian Parliament, but if it were to become law, the intention is to change the rules for inviting express entry candidates. So, rather than inviting candidates solely based on their CRS score, they will instead be invited based on specific factors such as their occupation, work experience or language.
This new law is intended to address Canada's labour market shortages as the country continues its recovery after the pandemic, leaving a lot of in-demand occupations lacking in workers. For example, the IRCC could start holding express entry draws specifically targeting French speakers or nurses or electricians. We don't know when or if this law will be passed, but it is worth bearing in mind for future draws.
Okay, so that's all for today's news on express entry draws restarting. Fingers crossed this really does signal the beginning of Canadian immigration as we knew it before, and we can really begin to see normality again. So many people have been waiting so long for this news, and we're finally seeing some rewards for all our patience.
If there's anything you need clarification on, let us know in the comments box below, and check out our videos on Express Entry Explained and how to calculate your CRS point. Best of luck if you have an active Express Entry profile in the pool, and be sure to check back here on Sunday when we'll have all the results and the lowdown on the draw.
Don't forget to subscribe before you go, and we'll see you next time.